everybody? It's Case from Q101. Normally, when I'm on this YouTube channel, I am interviewing upcoming bands that might one day headline shows at the United Center, bands that might one day headline Lollapalooza or Riot Fest. But it is my pleasure today to introduce to you somebody who, despite being my age, is so much more successful than me, has such a brighter future than me, someone who is an absolute delight. It is my pleasure to introduce to you AEW's Daniel Garcia. Daniel, first question. It is the appropriate question to ask today. How is your forehead doing?
Let's see how's it look?
Well, you look stunning as always.
Thank you, thank
The
you.
forehead, I think, has seen better days. But how are you holding
Yeah,
up?
I mean, I got a glass bottle shattered on my head last night, but I guess I kind of had it coming. I fought through all security. I almost got my hands on them. Sometimes you get a bottle busted open over your head and you start gushing out. You know what I'm saying?
This is
So I
true.
mean, hopefully it heals up by Saturday. Hopefully it doesn't open up too easy. We'll see what happens.
Well, hopefully you get your hands on MJF this Saturday for AEW's All Out. Tickets available now at AEWTix.com. That is at the Now Arena in Hoffman Estates. I have been to every All Out. I will be there as well on Saturday, so I can't wait for that. I am so curious when it comes to a match like this, one against MJF. When I think about your career, I think about your match with Minoru Suzuki and the work you did with Alex Shelley and the work you've done with Bryan Danielson. A lot of your career to this point, I think, has been defined by tackling the older generation of wrestlers. You know, you're a young man. You've fought against the legends at this point. But when it's somebody like MJF who's your contemporary, is there an added level of competition because you're competing directly against him for roster spots and TV time and championships? Does it mean anything to you knowing that he's also your age?
Well, the thing about MJF, it's weird because although we are similar in age, I think we're like 4 years apart. He doesn't feel like my contemporary. I feel like, he's the man at AEW. I feel like he gets whatever he wants. I feel like, he's been champion. He's main evented Wembley Stadium in front of 80,000 people. He's main evented pay-per-views. I haven't done any of that. So I feel like even though we're similar in age, I feel like he's done so much more than me. And I feel like even though he has done so much more than me, he doesn't necessarily deserve it. And I feel like that's what this match is for. Like it is for like that I hate MJF, but I think the deeper underlying issue is that he feels me creeping up on him. He knows that I can do the things that he has done, and I think he knows I can do it better than he's done it. And I think that's why he hates me. And I think that's why he hates me, and that makes me hate him just right back.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think in wrestling, so often we have eras that are defined by groups of guys. I mean, you can go back to the Horsemen in the '80s, the junior heavyweights in WCW in the 1990s. You look at Samoa Joe and Bryan Danielson and Low Ki. You lump all of these guys together. I'm curious because I feel like I've followed your entire career at this point, dating back to your highly underappreciated feud with Brandon Thurston years ago, all the way through now. Who are the people that you associate with? Who's your crew? Who do you think is trailblazing this era that I would certainly put you as a part of?
I mean, I feel like my contemporaries when I first came into AEW, we all kind of came in at the same time. It was like me, Wheeler Yuta, and Lee Moriarty. And I feel like since we've gotten to AEW, like we've done some stuff together, but in a lot of ways, it kind of feels like we've all went our separate ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know what generation I fit in because I feel like the Pillars is like a generation before me.
Yes,
MJF,
very much so. Yeah.
Jungle Boy, and Darby. They feel like something completely separate from me. But at the same time, I feel like I've completely separated myself from Yuta and Lee Moriarty. So I'm in this like weird in between purgatory that I don't really know where I fit in. And I think that's fine. I think I don't have to fit into any role or any group of people. Like I want to do my own thing. I don't want to. I don't want to be blended in with the Pillars or the Killers. I just want to be Daniel Garcia.
I think you're doing a phenomenal job of that. I'm curious as I watched your career unfold, and I've seen you now become a fixture on TV. And you're not only doing what you've always done, which is be a tremendous wrestler, but you've also added this level of personality that is jumping through the screen now, but also jumps through TV on TBS and TNT whenever you're on the screen. Because of the wrestling style that you do, this very mat-based, very technical style, and because of the gear you wear, you're no frills, black trunks, black tights. Do you feel like people look past you in terms of your charisma, in terms of what you can do as an interviewer, because they just simply underestimate you?
I feel like a lot of people when they watch wrestling view charisma in one way, and I feel like they view charisma as loud, larger than life, like very much like rock. The Rock, LA Knight, stuff like that. But like very loud, like rambunctious,
Yeah, very much so.
talk a certain way. But I think charisma is deeper than that. I don't think charisma is necessarily has to be super over the top or outlandish. I think charisma is just something that like Hook. Hook doesn't talk very much. Hook looks kind of like a normal guy. He has a crazy haircut. He looks like a normal guy, but he's somebody who I think is full of charisma and has like a lot of like aura. You know what I'm saying? Like he's somebody that catches your eye. And I feel like I have qualities like that about myself. And I think a lot of people who are wrestling fans will just overlook the the more meek versions of charisma, the more subtle, the more underplayed versions of charisma, and say if you're not this way, you're boring and uncharismatic and vanilla midget and all these things. But people said the same thing about Brian Danielson. People say the same thing about, I'm sure they said the same thing about Gunther. People say the same stuff about wrestlers until, you have to prove to them and show them otherwise. And I think sometimes it can take a lot to show these people otherwise, but I think that the best will always prevail. And I think that if you keep showing these people like what you are, I think they'll have no choice but believe in you and believe like what you're capable of.
Very much so. In regards to that, you are a man who, despite your affinity of deleting tweets, you are a man who's very online. And I'm curious from other wrestling pundits to mouth breathers on Reddit, do you find that the word storytelling has perhaps corrupted the way that people view wrestling? Do you think it's misused? When you hear the word storytelling in 2024, what comes to mind for you?
Um, I mean, that's another thing. I think a lot of people view storytelling as just one way. When storytelling, it can be done in a bunch of different mediums and many different ways. I feel like AEW does a very different kind of storytelling than a WWE, or than and a New Japan does a very different kind of storytelling than a AEW or WWE. Um, yeah, I think it's just different styles, and I wouldn't say it's corrupted uh, wrestling or anything like that. But I definitely think that storytelling can be misused, like the phrase storytelling, because I think when you look at like the content of the classic, people would just be like, "Oh, this is just a bunch of random matches. There's no story." It's like, well, you just have no media literacy, and you're not paying attention to what is going on in these matches and these character arcs and these stories. So you're watching at a very surface level. Um, I think a lot of people need stuff like laid out for them in a very meticulous spoon fed way. And I think that's fine. I think if that's what you prefer in your storytelling, I think that's fine. But I think AEW is around to be a different way to tell stories on American television for professional wrestling.
I'm very glad you guys exist. Also, I should note Continental Classic, a smash hit from every television metric. So hopefully that comes back this year. Hopefully you can pick up a win in the tournament this year. You mentioned New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm dying to know about what your relationship is like with Katsuyori Shibata. You guys have wrestled each other. You guys team together. Is there any stories about Shibata that you wouldn't mind sharing if you have any?
Oh, we got him to dance in the locker room one time. That was pretty
Really?
Yeah.
Was he doing the Danny Garcia dance?
Nah, not that. But he loves the Daniel Garcia dance. One time we were just all playing music in the locker room, and like the young guys, we were out just like getting hype and stuff. And Shibata came through and he did his thing. So Shibata, he's somebody who I've grown close with, and I've looked up to him for years. He's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And to be able to tag with him and learn from him and learn with him, I think is an honor.
Yeah, no, it's been really nice to see that unfold on screen. Hopefully, you guys team together here in the near future. In regards to Shibata and international talent, AEW has their partnership with New Japan. They have their partnership with CMLL. Have you been approached, or do you want to be approached about any international opportunities? Because I look at the CMLL roster and a guy like Hechicero, and I think, wow, I'd really like to see what you guys could do in the ring together. Is that on the table at all? Has there ever been discussions about you going to Mexico or going to New Japan?
I'd like to be.
Good. Good. I would like that too. I think that'd be great. We're talking to Daniel Garcia here. Again, AEW All Out this weekend. Tickets available now at AEWTix.com. Daniel Garcia, before you go, again, I feel like I've watched your entire career. I was at the Logan Square Auditorium a few years ago where you and Davey Richards had a lovely, lovely match for AAW Wrestling. When you think about the city of Chicago, do you have any specific memories that do come to mind?
Oof. I don't know if I can say a lot of memories. I don't know. No, I've had a really, I've had a really good time in Chicago. Chicago was like the first city, one of the first cities in AEW that like I actually did stuff in. That I
Mm.
actually like explored the city and went to restaurants, went to bars and stuff. So, and we go there every year, like multiple times a year. So we spend a lot of time out there. So we do a lot in Chicago. Me and Isaiah Cassidy and Dave from security, we've made our ways around Chicago every which way. So I love Chicago. I think it's a great city, and I always have a great time when I'm there in wrestling and out of wrestling.
Good, good. Well, I like to hear that. Well, I will be there at the Now Arena in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. I will be hoping that you get your hands on MJF, that you, I don't want to say kill him, but, if you hurt him severely, it would not be the worst thing in the world. And Daniel Garcia, before we go, is there anything you want to plug, anything you want to let the people of Q101 in Chicago know?
Man, I think the biggest thing is just All Out this weekend. AEW All Out at the Hoffman Estates, and it's going to be an amazing show. I feel like if you've never been to an AEW show before, I think this is the one to watch. It is going to be a level of violence and a level of entertainment that you've never seen before.
I can't wait for it. Daniel Garcia, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.